First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
On the line right now is Dr. Kent Hall. Doc, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good. I'll start with where are you guys on your numbers?
So as of this morning, we have 4 COVID-positive patients, all of them on just one campus.
Okay. All right. So that's a slight uptick there, but obviously we're down into the single digits. That's just that's a real positive.
Yes, and bouncing around as low as we are, we're doing really well.
Yeah.
I saw on Friday, in fact, I wrote about it on our website, for only the second time since the pandemic began, we reported 1 new positive case in Oneida County Friday. Yeah. 1 new case.
That takes us back to almost like September, early September. 1
case, actually, I think it takes us back to within 2 weeks of the start of the pandemic here. Wow. It was, I think, March 30th of 2020 was the only other day we reported 1 single case.
And it is incredible in the beginning when we were just reporting like 1, 2, there are 5 new cases, and we were like, wow, can you believe it? There's a case, this place Herkimer County has a case. Can you believe it? That's what it was like in the beginning. And then fast forward to December when we were talking about 300 cases. We were talking about over 100 people in the hospital with COVID. I mean, it was so different as we watched it expand in especially December and January.
Yeah, to expand and then to contract again. And, it's kind of amazing. Initially, we were... early on, it was like every new case was kind of a shock to the system, and then we got really used to it, and now it's a shock to the system because they're so low, which is, and again, that's a good thing. And what I hope is that we get used to this now.
Okay, within a month, we're hearing that they're going to be closing up shop on some of the state-run vaccination clinics, like the one, I think the one at SUNY Poly will go to the middle of July, but others are closing as well around the state. At 70% of eligible people vaccinated, are we peaking out now?
Well, we're not. Well, we are. Are we peaking out? Let's
hope not. But I feel like
I would say that certainly the easy vaccinations, so the ones for people who are, definitely wanted and are clamoring for it, and it is readily available to them, which means that they have the ability to, go to a vaccination site and stuff. We're certainly beyond that. Now, it's a combination of people that are a little more hesitant, and also people that may not be able to travel. Right. And so really it's getting the vaccines to them, and having conversations with people kind of one-on-one to kind of talk through what the benefits and what their concerns are. Yeah. And to get people to a point where they feel comfortable getting the vaccine.
Okay. Further, anybody? Andrew.
Yeah, Dr. Hall, I'm not trying to minimize all the progress we've made and all the positivity with regards to the numbers. But I was speaking with somebody over the weekend with knowledge, and she had told me that the new Delta variant is possibly here and impacting a lot of people of Latin descent in their 30s and 40s. But she doesn't know why specifically the people of Latin descent or Hispanic descent, but really the younger aged people are starting to feel, and of course unvaccinated, but people are starting to feel the effects younger with that Delta variant. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, so I can't speak to why it would be anybody of Latin or Hispanic descent, unless that also corresponds to people who have not been vaccinated.
Right.
I do know that the variants do seem to affect younger age people than what was initially seen. Some of that may also be related to the fact that the older age individuals were really the first that we were really looking to get vaccinated because of their vulnerability to it. And so it may very well be that those all align in terms of being younger, relatively less vaccinated, and then you've got a variant that is 60 to 70% more transmissible. So we need to be concerned about that.
Monaski.
You might have kind of just answered this. I apologize. I was reading as you were speaking. Do the current vaccines that are out there today that everyone's been getting for the last couple of months, do they stop the Delta variant?
So yes, they are effective against the Delta variant. They are not as effective as against the primary virus, but they are in the 70% range in terms of effectiveness. And so certainly, when we get enough people vaccinated, that should pretty well stop it cold.
Yeah. And the good news is we've been talking about the pandemic, and it's gotten to the point where we're seeing the numbers reduce to a point where I can ask you a question that has nothing to do with the pandemic, all right? We'll close with this question. Hiccups. Scientists say they have created a straw that seems to be an instant cure for hiccups. Now, while that might not seem like it's a difficult medical issue, but there are rare cases, and we just had one in the news recently, where people get the hiccups and it becomes chronic, where they can never get rid of the hiccups. Can you talk about that and why that is a bit of a breakthrough, if indeed this really is a cure?
Yeah, so hiccups basically are an irritation of the nerve that innervates your diaphragm, the diaphragm being the fairly thick muscle that separates your chest cavity from your abdominal cavity. And it really helps us with breathing. And it's what happens with hiccups is that you get basically almost like a twitch of the diaphragm, and that's what causes you to actually have the hiccup or the dramatic influx of air into your upper airway.
Right.
So what can happen is that people where that can become a chronic condition, basically where the diaphragm itself becomes almost hypersensitized to it, and so with almost no stimulus at all, it basically just continues on. There are a number of different ways that can be used to basically calm that down. People have heard about a lot of them, I'm sure, holding your breath for a period of time, drinking water while you're holding your breath, because anything that basically decreases the stimulation to the diaphragm. So if this straw, and I'm sorry, I don't know anything specific about it, but if this straw does a similar thing, where it would actually, because you are actively controlling the way that you breathe, you may be overriding any kind of a reflex within your phrenic nerve. That's the nerve that stimulates your diaphragm. Then it certainly could be something that could work. I don't know enough about it to be able to speak to it specifically.
In one case here, this is a woman in the United States, had the hiccups for 8 years, and after 8 years, she was finally able to kick it. But can you just imagine having that for 8 years nonstop? You cannot stop the hiccups.
Oh, we've all had hiccups just for short periods of time, and they're so uncomfortable and so disruptive to what you're doing that having it for 8 years must. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine.
Can only imagine.
Well, can you imagine their spouse or partner? Ugh.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they never got that far. That's probably the problem. Okay, Doc, we appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. We'll do this again soon.
Thank you, everybody.